What profession has way more people on illegal drugs than people realize? Story 1. I've done call center work. 80% of the people there are high or drunk. It's literally the only way to mentally deal with 50 calls an hour. Reply 1. It's crazy, but I did customer service work from home and I tried to drink some beers a few times towards the end of my shift while taking calls. But it just made me paranoid that I would make a mistake, so it wasn't even fun. I know a lot of my coworkers were doing that though. My manager even encouraged it. She was like, "We don't get paid enough, so just do what you have to do in order to get through the day." Laugh out loud. Reply 2. My drinking got out of control during the pandemic. I was doing customer service from home. I'd take a shot the first time a customer annoyed me. I was drinking a bottle of whiskey plus some beers every day. Almost died. Reply 3. I worked at a liquor store over the pandemic. You weren't the only one. We had record high sales and almost every customer became a regular. I was drinking a lot back then too, so I didn't notice at the time, but looking back, it was really effing sad. Reply 4. Worked in a call center for 3 years in my 20s, 40s now. Was the most soul-destroying, losing hope in humanity and myself job I ever did. Changed my entire view on what I want for myself going forward. One of the first jobs I will replace completely, and I actually cheer for this one. Nobody should do that job. Reply 5. Agree. I have worked a lot of different jobs and am well into my second major career. And the call center is one of the most exploitative and abusive work environments ever conceived. They're emotional coal mines. An alternative to AI would be unionization. They could be much better places to work if the people doing the work were paid a lot better, have an actual say in how the work is done, and will and won't be tolerated from customers. Story 2. I work in manufacturing. The number of people who are alcoholics and stoners at work is probably 5 to 10%. The number of people who are alcoholics and stoners at home is probably 50%. Reply 1. Factory night shifts run on no snow here. If they actually drug tested, they'd lose half the factory. Reply 2. Used to work for Ford? Yes, they do. Crazy amounts of snow and slash or pills that keep you up. Crazy crap happens at night though. Had one guy trying to gather as much money as he could and was working 2.5 shifts, meaning he had 2 full-time jobs and a part-time. We would let him work the first 4 hours, then let him sleep on his lunch till clock out time. Reply 3. I went to rehab with a bunch of guys from Ford. They described a pretty active party scene on the line. Reply 4. Worked in a factory decades ago. Factory was purchased by an investment group and, as part of their new safety initiative, all employees would submit to a drug test when the purchase was complete. I was in a meeting with all the MGMT of the plant, including the safety director. I'll never forget his response. I don't know much about business like you, gesturing to the 5 suits that purchased the plant, but I do know that if you want to close this plant in less than 24 hours and shutter it forever, you'd send the entire workforce for a drug test. Reply 5. I've been through this as well. One time, upper management was so insistent on drug tests that the shop foreman brought in boxes and boxes of poppy seed muffins for everyone to eat on the big day. While I doubt that the muffins would actually affect a proper drug panel, the point was still clear. Story 3. Is this the thread where we all find out that most of the people we interact with daily are on drugs most or all of the time? Reply 1. Testing of sanitary sewer water shows that everyone is on way more drugs than they report if you just survey them. Reply 2. As someone who used to test sanitary sewer water, I can tell you everyone who does that job is high all the time. Story 4. I think a better question is what profession has surprisingly few drug users? Lab? It's lab. We are all autistic and follow the rules. Reply 1. I've very rarely seen a high engineer similarly. Absolutely hammered, yes, but almost never on drugs. Reply 2. You definitely don't hang out with my civil engineering buddies. Laugh out loud. Granted, we don't partake during work, but I would be surprised if 20% passed a random drug test. Reply 3. PCR test was invented by Carrie Mullis. surfer, chemist, and LSD lover. Even personally thanked Hoffman for his discovery at one point, if I recall correctly. Story 5. Believe it or not, orchestra musicians. Adderall, painkillers especially. It's a very, very competitive field, and they always have to be at 110%. Reply 1. Putt. When I was at Juilliard, there would be about 10 orchestra players who were baked out of their minds in any performance. One of my best friends was this proper Korean girl who was stoned 24/7. We'd get insanely blazed and she'd go to rehearsal without having looked at the music. She would just sight read stoned. One friend liked to perform on acid. He made it to Juilliard for masters. Drugs are everywhere. Reply 2. When I saw Brad Mehldau play a show and talk about his book recently, he said, paraphrasing, "Charlie Parker was that good. Despite the heroin, imagine how good he could have been without it. Drugs do not make you a better musician, and that really resonated with me. So I've definitely stopped playing high. I still drink though, so yeah, soon." Reply 3. I had heard something similar from a different source years ago, so I gave up music. I effing love drugs. Reply 4. I used to be bar staff at a pub opposite a major opera house. Every performance intermission, the whole orchestra would rush over, guzzle as much booze as they could in 15 mins, then run back to continue performing. They'd be back in afterwards too. Serious alcoholics. Reply 5. That's kind of part of the game in some places. It gets you through the 85th time through Act 3 of Turandot. Story 6. Every single meal at every restaurant you've enjoyed has been lovingly prepared by a team of potheads. If it's a fancy restaurant, then it's cokeheads. Reply 1. I'm always kind of baffled by this. I may have ADHD, I will find out soon. But when I'm stoned, I forget everything, even more than I do sober. There's no chance in hell I could work in a kitchen and remember to take this off the stove or that out of the oven. Hats off to whoever can do that, because it is certainly not me, laugh out loud. Reply 2. Trick is to get a good buzz, but not get totally stoned. Laugh out loud. Takes the nerves away, and everything you're doing is something you've done over 1,000 times. Get that ADHD chaotic flow and smash everything. Story 7. Once I got into dental school, our eyes were opened by the Well-Being Foundation, an arm of the Missouri Dental Association. A couple of guys who were addicts, had been in recovery for years, came and discussed substance abuse and just how wild it can spiral. After talking to a friend and mentor who has been sober from opioids and alcohol, both for 45 years, he talked about how many healthcare professionals from all disciplines there were, just in our little rural area. No names or personal info, of course. Crazy to me still that people I would have never suspected, and so many of them were the high-functioning type A go-getters. Story 8. Restaurants. The vast majority of the cooks are not late-life fancy Anthony Bourdain, but early-life drug-addicted hungover Anthony Bourdain. Edit, thanks for the most upvotes I've ever received. Also, yes, to people in the industry, this isn't news, but when my parents found this information out through my stories and others, they were literally shocked. I think the older generation still saw it as artistic. Reply 1. Not sure if this qualifies for more than people realize, as this stereotype has been known for many decades and portrayed in all forms of media. Reply 2. Back in the early 90s, I worked as a sous chef in a very upscale restaurant in Palm Beach. If you were hungover or going slow and it was approaching time for service, the manager would tell you to go into the bathroom and get your head straight. On top of the back of the toilet covered with a magazine, there were perpetually a couple of small lines of Coke, available anytime for any of the BOH staff. I only found out years later that it was supplied by the owner of the restaurant, a very wealthy and well-known figure in Palm Beach society, as a morale booster. Reply 3. Is it really that surprising? I kinda assumed you have to be hopped up on something to be able to do that day in and day out. Reply 4. Well, you need cocaine and caffeine to get you through the day, weed or alcohol to make you sleep for the 4 to 6 hours you're gonna get. Reply 5. A friend of mine got pregnant with the dude at the restaurant she worked for. Wouldn't be surprising except that with her being impregnated, he had knocked up every girl in the restaurant. Snake-looking dude, too. I didn't get it. Story 9. I worked as a professional rock and roll musician, and I am blowing the whistle now. I suspect illegal drugs are being used in the industry. Story 10. Not always illegal drugs, but K-12 teaching. One of the reasons I quit was because I saw so many teachers developing a home is where the wine is lifestyle after their first few years. At one school, I was gifted alcohol on my first day as a joke because I was going to need it. In the education community, alcoholism/drug use absolutely exploded during the pandemic, when teachers had to work from home with increased levels of stress, decreased support, and constant access to substances. A lot of teachers are also hard partiers outside of work hours because of the stress. Very few teachers are going to show up to teach children while on drugs, but some people I knew definitely did that stuff routinely on the weekends as a way to blow off steam. It takes a lot less time than actual self-care. I'm sober and in the 12-step community. The amount of teachers in my meetings who are recovering from addictions developed during the pandemic. Every possible kind of addiction is insane. I am very happy I switched career paths. Reply 1. This surprised me when I was a bartender. A disproportionate number of my regulars were elementary school teachers. I tried to get my boss to let us have a special night for educators like we have for industry people, but he wouldn't go for it. I don't think people want it advertised that we're driving our teachers to drink. Reply 2. The most I ever drank in my life was when I was teaching. I put on a good 40 pounds and was actively miserable. And I was most certainly not alone. Everyone I worked with was the same. Reply 3. I remember how drunk my band teacher always was. I understand why he needs it. The noisy job is too stressful. Reply 4. Teachers are also extremely likely to be on anxiety and depression medicine, and there is always a teacher at the school that is the hookup for drugs. It's usually a PE teacher. Source, taught 11 years, fled. Reply 5, I posted the same thing. It's really bad in education. I saw a lot of my 2-teacher friend households split during, and since the pandemic too. The future of our country is in very tired and stressed out hands. Whether at home or school, these kids aren't getting fully functional, and there are adults to help guide them. Story 11. The mental health field. Most of us have some lived experience ourselves that, combined with the secondary trauma we experience on a daily basis, leads many of us to turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms. Reply 1. As someone who sees a therapist and psychiatrist regularly, thank you for what you do. It's so incredibly important, and I'm sorry that we all have to lay our trauma out on you. Y'all truly deserve so much more than you're given. Teachers too. Reply 2. Jumping on this if anyone else in the field needs the encouragement. Getting help is the best thing I ever did for myself and the people on my caseload. We are not immune to mental health. Story 12. Scrolling through this thread, it seems like a pretty large segment of the population of the U.S. is struggling with substance abuse. Story 13. Military amphetamines. Police free reign on whatever, usually coke. Healthcare is basically instant access to prescriptions. Lawyers are notorious coke and poppers guys. Wall Street and finance. Wolf of Wall Street shenanigans. Teachers booze. Story 14. Farriers, as in horseshoeing. 98% of farriers are extreme heavy drinkers. The job is extremely high stress and high stakes. Most people don't realize that shoeing a horse is extremely dangerous. They see videos online and think that horses are big dogs. They are not. They are 1,200 lubby or more animals with the flight instincts of a deer. They can crush you and not even know it. On top of that, you spend long periods of time isolated in a truck driving between stops, dealing with traffic and terrible drivers. On top of that, you're interacting with owners who know next to nothing about hoof care, but have the ability to fire you and, depending on how many horses they own, put you in financial ruin. Horses get new shoes every 4 to 5 weeks, so your body never gets a break. You're expected to be on call at all times on top of dealing with veterinarians and the people training the horses. Reply 1. Now, this is one I wasn't expecting. I know it's dangerous to ride them. My sister did horseback. so I can only imagine how hard it is to be fixing their death clompers. Kudos for all your hard work. Story 15. Anesthesiologists. I had a case where someone stole fentanyl off an anesthesiologist's cart. The hospital figured, we can just drug test everyone who had access to the room, and whoever tests positive for fentanyl is the one that stole from the cart. Nope. Everyone tested positive for fentanyl. The anesthesiologist, the tech, the nurse, the pharmacist, and the pharm tech all tested positive. Turns out more than 30% of people who work in anesthesiology fields self-report diverting drugs for personal use. Those are just the ones that casually admit it. Reply 1. Did anything happen to those people for all testing positive? Or did nothing happen because they all tested positive? Reply 2. My dad is a physician, and he told me a long time ago that anesthesiology in general carries a much higher risk of substance abuse, not only because of easy access to drugs, but from environmental exposure which can stimulate those receptors. As a recovering opioid user, I can totally believe that and completely understand the intensity of that. I'm certainly not saying this is why many in that field use, but it certainly doesn't help. Story 16. The real answer is way more people use substances that are illegal or of dubious legality than we care to think. Much of it is socially acceptable. Pot smokers in states where it's not legal, so we tend to overlook it. Story 17. Cocaine is rice in senior roles in all aspects of corporate and political life. How do you think these people can work 20-hour days? Non-stop, it's Coke and Adderall. Story 18. Seems like it's most jobs. The better question would have been, which jobs, if any, don't put you at high risk for drug abuse or alcoholism? From the responses, it seems like a societal problem rather than an occupation problem. I'm sure someone more eloquent can expand on that. Story 19. Airline pilots. It's also really hard for them to get help, because admitting they need help is almost the same consequence as getting caught. Granted, I don't think it is a massive problem, but addiction is everywhere. Story 20. Lawyers, doctors, and nurses, chefs/cooks, waiters/waitresses, construction, truckers, and honestly a lot of people in power right now. Presidential staff or representatives, college professors, a lot of people in a science/chemist work. Wife is a chemist, and 90% of her coworkers and managers have admitted to Adderall abuse and cocaine usage. Basically, any type of work that requires a lot of long hours, intense concentration, and the ability to be available at any given time. I'm not against the people who use for these reasons, honestly, it sucks, but they do what they have to in order to survive and get the job done and not get replaced. I am, however, against the place we're at in the world, where these poor people feel like this is the route they have to take in order to do what they are ordered to do, so they can afford to survive and be a team player. You cannot expect your average person to work high-stress jobs with high-stress hours and a high-stress work-week schedule, while also demonizing these people for doing and using whatever they can to be your ideal tool to use and abuse. And when they can't, because they've tried to give up substances or never use them but are burning out, they are tossed away like trash. It's sad.
Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you want to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.